Hello, we are at the European Council speaking to a head of state whose country is determined to join the European Union. We're here with Maya Sandu. Hello, Mrs. Sandu.
Bonjour.
You're the president of Moldova. An EU-Moldova summit was held on the 22nd of June in Brussels as your country, with a population of 2.8 million and bordering Ukraine, opened its first round of negotiations, focusing on fundamental rights, public administration reform, and economic criteria. Moldova is already receiving pre-accession funds to support its economy, which has been weakened by the war in its neighboring country. Our reporter Isabelle Romero traveled with Anaïs Chanel to meet you in Moldova.
A vision of modernity in rural Moldova. The village of Mireni, population 5,000, can now boast of a new public lighting network, a solar energy farm, as well as a video surveillance system. That transformation largely due to the EU's Smart Villages pilot programme.
Thanks to this program, and above all thanks to the savings they have allowed, we have been able to reinvest our budget in other projects, notably educational ones.
But the scale of the economic challenge is vast. Moldova's GDP per inhabitant is barely more than a fifth that of the EU average. Its economy has been hit by the war in neighbouring Ukraine, with inflation now reaching 7%, meaning the 1.9 billion euros from the EU's pre-accession funds play a vital role. The EU Investment Conference in June resulted in another 640 million euros in pledged funds from the public and private sectors.
So what we do is to make sure that Europe can go to the level of the European Drinking Water Directive.
Indeed, one example of that investment is Belgian water treatment company Bosac signing a 15 million euro contract, a sum that could rise to 51 million euros. And US cybersecurity giant Fortinet is investing to help Moldova reach EU standards as it's confronted with Russia's hybrid warfare.
It's a platform between East and West. Today, we can already see here what could be the major geopolitical changes in this part of the world. So that means Moldova is particularly under attack when it comes to energy infrastructure, healthcare, transport, and telecommunications.
But the influx of EU funds raises concerns about corruption, which is a major issue in Moldova. For the public prosecutor Roman Porybin, progress has been made, thanks to the creation of a national anti-corruption office.
The EU provides funds, tools, advisory guidance and training. We have already confiscated goods worth the equivalent of $49 million.
Moldova faces the twin perils of Russian warmongering in Ukraine and the breakaway region of Transnistria. For the EU's Commissioner for Enlargement, Marta Kos, the EU has to act to preserve its influence with the countries of the region.
Putin's regime, but also other adversaries, are ready to weaponize them against us, meaning if we will not get them on board becoming a member, somebody else could step in and use them against us.
Supporting the Moldovan economy comes on the condition of verifiable reforms. Last year, Chisinau implemented 24 reforms and received 289 million euros from the EU.
So we were discussing your country's economic situation, which has obviously been very precarious since the war in Ukraine, as that has cut off your main source of gas from Russia. You're now connected to the European network and are receiving 1.9 billion euros in pre-accession funds. Are you hoping for an improvement in the economy?
It is true that the Russian invasion in Ukraine has affected significantly the Moldovan economy. But I have to say that despite this hardship, we managed to implement significant reforms. We managed to eliminate completely our dependency on Russian gas. We invested a lot in renewables. And now, because of the war in Iran, the GDP forecast for this year is lower, but we hope to recover. And we are compensating with reforms in the justice sector, reforms in the business environment, Indeed, there is now this 1.9 billion euros, which is the growth plan supported by the European Union. And we do have opportunities. Energy continues to be one of the biggest opportunities for investors. The investment in infrastructure, big infrastructure projects, some of them co-financed by EU, but not only. The IT sector has been developing very rapidly in Moldova and represents an opportunity. The agro-processing, the investment in defense, these are all areas which might be very interesting to foreign investors. And of course, I do believe that the war in Ukraine will come to an end sooner than later, and Moldova will be part of the hub which will help companies, foreign companies, to participate in the reconstruction of Ukraine.
One of the main issues, certainly from an economic perspective, both for Europeans and for you, is the question of corruption. Your country is still somewhat traumatized by what happened 10 years ago. The stolen billion scandal that took place in the context of judicial reform, where around $1 billion disappeared from 3 banks, amounting to about 12% of your GDP. Moldova is working with some EU member states and with the European Public Prosecutor's Office. How is that working?
The main people behind this corruption case that you mentioned, the banking sector fraud, they have been convicted. This is very important. We have been working very hard on justice sector reform and on strengthening the capacity of the anti-corruption institutions. We have been doing the vetting of judges and prosecutors with the support of the EU, particularly to make sure that there are no integrity issues in the justice. And we do have results. We also see it in the trust of the population. Moldova increased or improved significantly in international rankings when it comes to the perception of corruption, measured by Transparency International.
More than 1 million Moldovans live outside your country, a large diaspora whose remittances accounted for 8% of GDP in 2024. Unfortunately for you, 40,000 Moldovans leave the country every year. How can you strike the right balance?
The Moldovans who left the country, they still care about Moldova. They participate in elections. They send money back, and by doing that, they contribute to the economic development. And they do, many of them, they do want to come back, and we want them to return to Moldova. We know that they will return to Moldova, first of all, when there is going to be a higher sense of security. And this means for the war in Ukraine to end, but also when they see that the living standards are increasing. Really big majority of the diaspora vote is pro-EU and pro-democracy.
Merci Maya Sandou d'avoir été notre invitée aujourd'hui.
Thank you, Maya Sandou, for joining us today.